Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Joan. Welcome to our municipal planning / regular council meeting for today, Tuesday, June 25th. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:30, and I'll confirm that all members of council are present, as well as our municipal clerk. Item 2 is our territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge the township of Allen-McCalderman is located on the Mississaugan-Ashanindic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashanindic. The township of Allen-McCalderman respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Approval of the agenda. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McCalderman enact as follows: that the agenda for the Municipal Planning Regular Committee meeting held on June 25th, 2024 be approved, and I understand there is one addendum. And I'm just not, I didn't keep write down what it was for. Oh, it is a circular. Okay. Pardon me. There it is, 16.2. North, and it's regarding Northumberland County and a notice of decision for Allen-McCalderman official plan amendment number 2. So, can I get a mover and a seconder for that agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussions? All in favor? The motion is carried. Now, item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Does a member of council have any comments or commitments? Seeing none, that'll be duly noted. Item 5 is a council meeting minutes of June 13th, 2024. And I'll read the resolution that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 13th, 2024 be adopted. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Are there any questions or comments regarding those minutes? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, we'll move on to item 7. And this is a motion to reconvene to our Land Division Committee and Adjustment meeting. That the Council of the Township of Allen-McCalderman, being a Land Division Committee or a Committee of Adjustments, move to a Land Division Committee of Adjustment meeting June 25th, 2024 at 9:33 a.m. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. So we're going to move staff around a little bit to so that our planner can move to the table. And thank you, Emily, for starting off the meeting. Whenever you're ready. Well, I've got to do a couple things, but if you're ready. Next is reconvene to the municipal planning / regular council meeting. The resolution reads: the council reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting on June 25th, 2024 at 9. At 9:35. All in favor? Oh, you can move in a second?
Sorry. I think you need to,
Well, I'm
One
I'm
here.
going to that.
but you just said to reconvene and we don't need to reconvene.
We don't need to reconvene. You're right. I'm gonna change it then. I'm gonna read it right off here and then I'm straightened around. Well, I got two things to read off, but okay, I'll call this to order at 9:35. And I'll confirm that that this is a quorum of council and we have the presence of the secretary / treasurer. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge the township of Allen-McCullough is located on the Mississaugan-Ashanindic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashanindic. The township of Allen-McCullough respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll read the resolution for the agenda, that the agenda for the Corporation Committee of Adjustments Land Division Committee meeting held on June 25th, 2024 be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Looking for comments? Seeing none, that'll be noted that there were no declarations of pecuniary interest. And we have approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment and Land Division Committee meeting that was held on the 28th of May, 2024. That the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment / Land Division Committee meeting held on May 28th, 2024 be approved. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? The motion is carried. Moving on to item 7, this is consents. And we have an application for consent from Radonis Farm Incorporated, AH05 2024. Tracy, do you want to take us through this?
Thank you. Through the chair to the Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. The purpose of the application AH05 2024 is to sever a 0.7 hectare parcel of land for the creation of a rural lot from an existing 28.81 hectare rural property. The proposal will sever a rural residential lot from the agricultural lands. The proposed lot contains an existing single detached dwelling and 3 outbuildings. The subject property is located on the east side of Beauchamp Road, also known as Beecham Road, south of County Road 2 and immediately north of the CNCP rail corridor in the southeast quadrant of the municipality. There is a tributary of Shelter Valley Creek that flows through the property, and lands adjacent to the water course in the northern portion of the property remain heavily forested. Lower Trent Conservation Mapping has identified wetland on the property surrounding the water course. Further, there's a floodway of Shelter Valley Creek that crosses Beauchamp or Beecham Road and Benlock Road north of the subject property. The property contains a single detached dwelling, detached garage, and 2 accessory buildings. There was a barn and a silo that were recently demolished on the property. The balance of the lands are under agricultural cultivation. The surrounding land uses are a mix of agricultural, rural residential, and recreational commercial uses. Coburg East Campground is located north of the subject property, and the CNCPR rail corridor forms the southern property boundary. Lands on the west side of the road are under active agricultural cultivation. The property has been designated rural with environmental protection in the northwest and southeast corners of the property. The proposed lot is located within the rural designation. There are natural heritage features on the subject lands. But they are further from the proposed lot than 120 meters. So there is no need to evaluate potential impacts on those features. Policies 3.1.1 and 3.1.2 of the provincial policy plot statement apply to this application. They require development to be directed outside of hazardous lands and that development not be permitted with areas that are inaccessible to people or vehicles during times of flooding. Lower Trent Conservation Authority advised that the road elevation along Beauchamp or Beecham Road and Benlock Road between the subject lands and the northwesterly limit of the floodplain should be confirmed by an Ontario Lands surveyor so that safe access can be confirmed. So as such, consistency with section 3.1 of the PPS would need to be just demonstrated. They're recommending restrictive zoning be put in place on the retained lands to prohibit further residential development unless safe access to the subject property can be demonstrated subject to the satisfaction of the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. Provided that those lands are zoned with a holding symbol to address the need to confirm the elevations and limit the floodplain and the limits of the floodplain along Beecham or Beauchamp Road and Benlock Road to restrict additional development, the proposal can be considered consistent with the provincial policy statement, conformity with the growth plan and the Northumberland County official planning and Almac Haldeman official plan. In the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned rural and environmental protection and environmentally sensitive area around the watercourse. We haven't received any comments from Alderville First Nations, Bell, or the rail lines. Public Works did note that there's an existing entrance for the proposed severed lands. Should development be proposed on the retained lands, an entrance permit would be required. As mentioned, Lower Trent reviewed the application and they have no objections subject to restrictive zoning being placed on the retained lands with a holding symbol that would prohibit new residential development until it's demonstrated that safe access can be achieved during a flood event to their satisfaction. Detailed comments will be provided to the applicant so they are aware of the Conservation Authority regulation area and their requirements for permits. Northumberland County reviewed the application and had no objections to the proposal. Notice of the application was circulated to all owners of the land within all owners of land within 60 feet of the property, and a sign was posted on June 4th. No public comments have been received to date. The proposed severed lot does comply with the minimum lot area for the rural zone, or does not comply with that, and needs to be rezoned to rural residential to permit the proposed use. Should development be proposed on the retained land in the future, safe access needs to be demonstrated. So a proposal will include a holding symbol on those lands. We're recommending approval of the application, subject to conditions. And I have made a revision that I'll pass to the chair. Because there is an existing house on the property, the requirement for development charges and cash in lieu of parkland can be removed. Should the retained lands be developed in the future, we can collect development charges at the time of a building permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And just so I understand, we're going to eliminate number 6 and 7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I'll ask members of council, is there any questions or comments for planner Tracy? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. Tracy, we've had a severance on that property where this restricted zone for the holding area for proper access for a flood event. And we passed that other one. Would this be in the same kind of an idea?
So the previous application, I don't recall if there was a holding applied to it. In my opinion, that's the appropriate mechanism to ensure that development happens in a safe manner. Although the Conservation Authority is asking for it, we're also responsible for maintaining the requirements of the provincial policy statement. The applicant did indicate to me that they don't intend to develop, so I don't think that having that applied to the property will affect their future plans, and perhaps if they like to address that when they have the opportunity to speak, they can.
Okay, because this is an existing house, some, the outsides and stuff, so it's got the laneway already there, it's being used.
Yeah. The holding wouldn't be applied to that site. It's only proposed to be applied to the land that they're retaining.
Okay,
So that it would only be applicable if a new house was proposed.
okay, that makes sense, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
To you, Mayor Lovell. So the proposed 0.7 acre lot is smaller than the minimum lot size. So what size, are these, do they still have 100 feet of frontage?
Yes, so they meet the frontage, they're short on the lot area. In the rural zone, the minimum lot area is 5 hectares. So it's common that when a severance is applied for, that's below that size requirement, that a rezoning would be required to place it in a rural residential zone that only requires a minimum of 0.4 hectares, which is about an acre. So this proposed lot is a little bit bigger than that. But the rezoning can address both the holding on the retained lands and the rural residential zone on the severed lands at the same time.
Follow up?
Just one more question. So they aren't applying for an entrance at this time to get into the retained property?
That's correct. So if they were to develop in the future, they would need to lift the holding and they would need to satisfy the conditions for safe access and then apply for entrance permit.
I'm just wondering how they're gonna get into the retained property if they sell the first one, but I guess that's not our, that was gonna be a two-step
Well,
process.
If there's an agricultural entrance required, they could approach the Public Works, but I believe there's already one there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council of any other? Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I have one for our planner and one for our CAO. So, Tracy, it appears from this diagram that we're looking at that there's been previous severances done on this. And then I'm listening to you. I would have thought there could be no more development on the retained portion, but can you just clarify that for me?
Yeah. Yes, through the chair, the policies in the official plan in the rural designation permit up to 2 severances where a lot is less than 36 hectares. As the property was in 1990. So since 1990, there's been 1 severance on the property. So this will be the 2nd severance and they won't be able to get further severances. The other lots that would have come off the parcel happened before the 1990 date.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And to our CAO, as Councillor Ainsworth pointed out, this requirement about flood on the roads as a potential, it's come up on a previous one as well. Is that covered in the roads needs study?
Through your mayor, I would have to inquire about that.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from council members? Thank you. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Travis, how are you this morning? Good. Do you have any questions or comments further? And if you do, please come to the table so that we can be recorded and Tracy will be able to answer your questions.
Morning, council. I was just wondering if I get some clarification on the holding action that Lower Trent is requesting about the floodplain on the road. Is it specific to Beecham Road or Benlock Road, or exactly what are they? What are the requirements on that? And with the proof of like to fulfill those requirements for that proof of whatever be on me.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, so Lower Trent advised that the road elevation along Beauchamp and Benlock between your property and the northwest limits of where the floodplain is. So I think it's closer to the intersection. There's floodplain that crosses over the road, and if you want to stop by my office, I can show you the mapping, or you can reach out to Lower Trent and they can provide mapping. I think we will send you their detailed comments. But what would need to be done to lift the holding, should you want to build a house on the retained lands in the future, you would need to have an Ontario land surveyor confirm the elevations of the road to show that they are outside of a certain elevation, to show that if there were to be a flood, that emergency vehicles could get through safely in the event of an emergency. So that would have to be done before the holding could be lifted.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Travis. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none?
Mayor, is there anybody up on there?
Oh, I don't know that. Perhaps Yolanda can tell us. Any questions? Thank you. I'm going to read the resolution that's prepared. And I'll make note that it does not include items 6 and 7 regarding the development charge or the cash in lieu of parkland fee as advised by our senior planner. That application AH 052024 by Great Afton Farms Incorporated to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new rural residential lot in concession A, part of lot 18, geographically in the township of Haldeman, is approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. In addition to the registered survey, a geo-reference DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township in Northumberland County. That a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. That the tax application for the subject property be paid up to date. And that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed and retained parcels pursuant to the Planning Act. Could I get a mover and a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Silver and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Are there any further questions? Go ahead.
That's for you, Mayor. I just, because I know we've had a severance on this road before and the same holding thing came up with the flood, the 100-year flood zone. And we had it lifted for that severance. I would like to have that relooked at and see if we could take this holding thing off this one for the same reason. So that the great honestly didn't have to go through any other zoning or any other changes.
Can you fill us in a little bit when that was done?
It's probably before Tracy was here.
Yeah, I would have to look into it in more detail. I did have a quick look. There wasn't any conditions applied to that lot. Because the great aunt Donis has expressed that they're intending to use it as a farm purpose. I don't think that applies any, unnecessary hoops that they would have to do to use the property as they're intending to use. It just makes sure that in the future, if someone were to build a house, we're going to know 100% that it's safe. I think it's appropriate to follow the recommendations of the Lower Trent because they have the expertise. When the data is not available to show that it's safe, getting a surveyor and to confirm the elevations would do that. And then we would know that in the event of an emergency, we're not putting those future residents at risk or our emergency services staff. I think that's the appropriate thing, in my opinion, to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Thank you, Travis. The next application for consent is for Gary and Julia Edwards.
Okay, through the chair. The proposed application is located at 1521 Bowmanton Road. The purpose of application AH 06-2024 is for a proposed lot addition that is suitable for a building envelope outside of slope lands from an existing 37-hectare property located at 1521 Bowmanton Road. The lot addition will add approximately 0.4 hectares or 1 acre to the recipient property, resulting in a 3.27 acre or 1.33 hectare lot. The benefiting parcel was created by application AH 07-2022 and was zoned rural residential through application Z 07-2022. The previous applications severed a lot in the northeast corner of the subject property with frontage on Bowmanton Road. The property is located on the south side of Bowmanton Road, north of County Road 9. Meadowview Gardens, a wedding venue, is located on the subject property in addition to a wholesale nursery growing perennials and grasses for a larger nursery in Durham region. The surrounding land uses are a mix of agricultural, rural lands, and rural residential uses. There is a small horse farm with a racetrack located to the west of the subject property, and across from that farm is a beef farm. Rural residential uses are scattered around the general area. Highway 45 is located approximately 1.2 kilometers east of the subject property, providing good access to the property via County Road 9. The subject property is designated rural in the township of Almut-Calderman official plan with a small portion of environmental protection on the very south tip. While the PPS must be read in its entirety, section 1.4 and 1.1.4 and 1.1.5 apply to rural lands and permit the lot creation that's locally appropriate. The proposed lot does conform with minimum distance separation setbacks for the livestock barns located at 1454 Bowmanton Road and 10836 County Road 9. There is a headwater tributary of Burnley Creek south of the property on the south side of County Road 9. There are no Lower Trent conservation regulated areas on site. The proposal is consistent with the PPS. It conforms with the growth plan, the Northumberland County official plan, and the Almut-Calderman official plan. The subject property is zoned rural exception 1339 on Schedule A of the zoning bylaw 19/2019. Permitted uses include a special events and horticultural education venue and a wide range of other uses, including single detached dwellings and on-farm diversified uses and others. The minimum lot size in that zone is 15 hectares. Because the proposed lot will be 1.32 hectares, it is smaller than the minimum lot size required in the RU 139 zone. The lands subject to the previous consent were rezoned rural residential and that zone should be applied to the lot addition through rezoning. The rural residential zone permits single detached dwellings on 0.4 hectare lots. No comments were received from Alderville First Nations and Bell Canada. Public Works did advise that the lot has frontage on County Road 9 and an entrance permit is required from Northumberland County. Lower Trent Conservation advised they had no objection to the application. Northumberland County confirmed that the severance conforms to their official plan. Northumberland County Septic had no objections and advised a sewage system permit will be required at the time of the building permit. County Public Works indicated that an entrance permit will be required at the time of development, and any existing access points will be removed and a new entrance will need to be constructed across from Simpson Hill Road. County Public Works requested a road widening across the frontage of County Road 9 as a condition of approval. Notice of the application was circulated to all property owners within 60 meters, and a sign was posted on the property on June 4th. No comments have been received to date on the application. We are recommending approval of the proposal with standard conditions and the requirement for the road widening from the center line of County Road 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
You're welcome.
Planner.
Thank you.
Senior Planner. Any questions or comments from council regarding this application? Seeing none, is there anybody in the gallery here representing this applicant? Barry, are you representing them? Okay, would you like to come forward? If you have any questions?
Thank you.
The reason for this lot addition is that when they did do the lot to begin with, a lot of people, they shouldn't be allowed to take a look at what the sites, they should have a professional in there to decide how big the lot really should be, because when they started this lot, there wasn't very much space that was useful to build on. You couldn't swing the cat, I don't forget, so anyway, this lot addition, really helps with the lot, and it doesn't affect the property that they own at all, and it all more or less fits into what it should be.
Sorry, Barry. So do you have a question or just a comment? Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Barry? Thank you, Barry. Are there any other members of the public that have questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none? Anybody online? Okay, I'm going to read the resolution. This is for applicant PLN 2024-50. The application for consent, Gary and Julia Edwards, 25th of June, 2024. It is recommended that the Land Division Committee, the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Calderman, enact as follows. The application AH 062024 by Gary and Julia Edwards to sever a parcel of land for the addition of a new vacant rural residential lot in part of lot 24, concession 9, geographically in the township of Haldeman, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. Condition 1, that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. 2, in addition to the registered survey, a georeference DWG file on the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. Number 3, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. 4, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. 5, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act. Number 6, that the severed parcel be deemed as a lot addition to the recipient property and the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving effect to the lot addition. Number 7, that the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on the title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act. Number 8, that the applicant prepare and submit a draft reference plan at their expense to the satisfaction of the County of Northumberland, which illustrates a minimum road widening of 17 meters from the center line of the County Road 9 along the frontage of the retained parcel. And that number 9, that the applicant deeds a road widening to the County of Northumberland at their expense, free and clear of all encumbrances. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any questions or comments? Yes, go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
You referenced, section 7, 8, and 9, and my one only goes up to 6. So I'm just wondering if
I got 7, 8.
maybe I'm in the.
in the
Anyway.
wrong one. It's 7.2, Mary
You have
Cal.
it then. Okay, I don't know why though, but anyway.
Oh, you're on the back.
Oh, there we are. Okay, thank you. My apologies.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Sedaris.
He's on the next one.
Oh, you're here for the next one too? We can sit there, sit there if you want. This applicant is for consent for Carl and Beverly Bevan, AH 072024. PLN 2024 49, applicant for consent for Carl and Beverly Bevan, AH 072024, the 25th June 2024. Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. The property is located at 1338 McDonald Road, part lots 16 and 17 and concession 8 and part lot 17, concession 8 in the township of Haldeman, former township of Haldeman, sorry. The purpose of the application is to sever a parcel of land for a lot addition. The lot addition would add land to an unaddressed landlocked parcel located in part of lot 17, concession 8. The lot addition will result in two 40.8 hectare or 100.82 acre agricultural parcels of land. The property is located on the west side of McDonald Road. It is located in the Oak Ridges Moraine. It is bounded by residential properties that front on County Road 29. There are agricultural lands to the south and east and large wooded rural parcels to the west. The lands to be retained are developed with a single detached dwelling, barn, and additional agricultural buildings. The Burnley Creek Headwaters wetland complex, provincially significant wetland, covers a large portion of the subject lands. More specifically, located in the northwest quadrant, encroaching into the northwest quadrant and centrally located throughout the southern quadrants of the properties. Additionally, there's unevaluated wetlands located surrounding the PSW and multiple tributaries of Burnley Creek running through the PSWs. The subject property, as noted, is in the Oak Ridges Moraine and is designated Oak Ridges Moraine Natural Core in the township's official plan. Natural core areas have a high concentration of key natural heritage features and hydrologically sensitive features and landform conservation areas. As noted, there are natural heritage and hydrological features on the property. Since there is no development proposed on the severed lands at this time, the proposal does not require further study in terms of the natural heritage policies of the PPS and the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, the county's official plan, and the Almut-Calderman official plan. Should development be proposed in the future, studies may be required at that time. There is a barn on the east side of McDonald Road. It's not presently housing livestock, it appears. If someone were to apply for a building permit, MDS setbacks would be confirmed at that time. There is plenty of room to achieve the required setbacks on site. While severances are generally not permitted on the Oak Ridges Moraine, the severance of 2 or more lots for agricultural uses where the lot size of both the severed and retained lands are at least 100 acres is permitted. Both the retained and severed lots will be approximately 100 acres or just a hair over. A lot may be also created if there is enough developable area on both severed and retained lots to accommodate the proposed uses, buildings, structures, and accessory uses without encroachment into key natural heritage and hydrological features. The retained lands are already developed with a single detached dwelling and farm buildings. Both severed and retained lands have fields in agricultural production that are outside of those natural features. There is adequate land available for development of a single detached dwelling and agricultural buildings outside of the natural heritage and hydrological features on the proposed severed lands. It's also permitted for lot additions in the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, provided it does not result in an undersized lot for the purpose for what it's to be used for. Both lots have enough area for the proposed agricultural uses. The proposal is consistent with the PPS, conforms with the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, the county's official plan, and the Alma Haldeman official plan. The subject property is zoned Oak Ridges Moraine Natural Core, Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental Zone, and Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental Plan Review in the Alma Haldeman zoning bylaw 2019. Permitted uses in the core zone include agricultural uses, agricultural related uses, home businesses, home occupations, etc. The Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental Zone is applied to the area surrounding the watercourses, woodlands, and wetlands on the property. No agricultural uses are permitted in this area aside from what has already been established prior to the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan coming into effect on November 15th, 2001. The zoning bylaw contains provisions in section 4.42 that will secure for the submission of natural heritage evaluations and or hydrological evaluations should future development be proposed in proximity to the natural heritage and or hydrological features on both severed and retained lands. No comments were received from Alderville First Nations or Bell Canada. Public Works advised that should an entrance be required on the severed lands, a permit will be required. Lower Trent had no objections to the approval of the application. They requested their detailed comments be provided to the applicant. Through discussions with Northumberland County staff, they are satisfied that the provisions in zoning bylaw 1929 requiring natural heritage and or hydrological evaluations should development be proposed in proximity to the features satisfies their policies should development be proposed in the future. Public circulation was provided to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject property on June 4th, and a sign was also posted. No comments had been received from the public at the writing of this report. The proposed lot addition will add lands to a landlocked parcel, resulting in the creation of two 40.8 hectare agricultural parcels of land. The application is consistent with the PPS, the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, the county's official plan, and the township of Alma Haldeman's official plan, and we are recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Webster.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments from council? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through your Mayor Logal. At some point, would there be, because these are two significant size properties, would there be a chance at some time that a barn and a house could be put on these properties?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to double check. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could have heard you wrong, Tracy, but I thought in the very first page, about a quarter way down, you mentioned that you were talking about the left side of McDonald Road.
Oh, did I? Sorry, the east side
No, it's the west,
or the west
West.
side?
but not
You
the left
said-
side, because that depends on whether you're going up the road or down the road.
Apologies.
I think you were heading north, weren't you?
I must have been.
Okay, any further questions from council? Barry, do you have any questions regarding the application?
No question for that, just this makes a landlocked parcel, 50 acres that was not no use to anything for over years. But if we more assessment to the municipality, sure, your tax basis and right from what's going on, this. It's gonna make two viable properties now rather than one that's some questions.
Mm.
The operation running, you know, it did do some good things, but did lots of bad things for lots of people that they were never,
Barry?
that they were, you hear this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
now.
they were never compensated for. I mean, they just took and nobody ever got any compensation anyway from that either. So sometimes, you know, you gotta work a way to make things the way they should. 100-acre parcel, it's a big chunk of land, and these would be two viable properties for somebody in the future.
Thank you, Barry. Are there members of the public that wish to comment? Seeing none? Mr. Okay. Morning, Mr. Gilchrist.
Good morning, your worship and counselors.
You have a question regarding this application?
I do. My question is to the planner. I'm a little confused by the verbiage in the presentation. First off, the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Act, I think quite clearly states in section 8.1 that it prevails over any other statute. I would not suggest that it's incorrect that a 100-acre parcel retains a natural severance right, but I would very vociferously object to the characterization that just by creating a new severance, a new residential or any other development is allowed. After November 15th, 2001, there are no new permissions to be granted. And this isn't unique to this property. Anything, particularly on the natural core, section 7 and section 715, as the planner correctly observed, after the act was brought into force on November 15th, 2001, it just can't be done. You can't consider them. So I'm not aware of any change in the interpretation of that act. And I think after the government's bit of a miscue on the Greenbelt, it's unlikely that will be considered in the future. So I would be grateful if the planner could point to the section in the act that would permit, just because of a severance, the creation of a new property, a new development of any kind after November 15th, 2001 on this property.
Thank you, Mr. Gilchrist. Chris, do you have a
Yeah, so,
comment?
yes, through the chair, section 30, two, I believe it is, that speaks to lot creation. States that lots that are, for the purpose of agricultural uses that have at least 100 acres are permitted.
I'm not disagreeing with your characterization that the severance would be permitted. I'm disagreeing with your characterization that by creating a severance, you somehow managed to do an end run around the act and allow a development that would not otherwise be allowed under the status quo.
I'm not entirely understanding how agricultural parcel creation is not conforming with the act that you're referencing.
I'm suggesting that you can create the lot, but you can't create a lot with the legal right to build anything on it. So, for example, if you wanted to create a 100-acre parcel of agricultural land, and another farmer wanted to buy that to increase their own holdings, I wouldn't see a problem with that under the act. But creating another lot with the expectation that you then get to build on it, I would argue is absolutely something that we considered when we crafted that law, and severances don't give you something that an unsevered parcel doesn't get.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
If council wishes, I can look into that further and report back.
Okay. What is council's wish? Here, Catherine?
I'm wondering if the landowner would prefer us to defer based on that investigation or not.
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor, I would suggest that we find out the right thing to do here. If Mr. Gilchrist, has a complaint here that we haven't got the proper answer for at this time, that we should probably find that out.
I need to, go ahead, Barry.
Well, the county should.
The microphone?
The county,
Yeah.
the county certainly didn't have an issue with what was happening here. I mean, once you go, they gotta know what's going on with the Oak Ridge Marine for sure.
That's a good point.
There's no issue.
Here, Catherine?
My understanding from this is there's no problem with the creation of the lot. It's the question is whether anything could potentially be built on it in the future. So the creation of the lot's perfectly fine. It's whether a new building could be created on that property.
Well, we're creating, we created a lot, we're creating a lot. Right?
Yep.
That's what this is all about, right? Creating a lot.
And I don't think there's any problem with creating a lot. It's whether they can build on it later or put a residential wall on there. Tracy, you're saying they can do that?
Well, my read was that it could. Mr. Gilchrist is pointing out some questions that I would like to look into because I would hate for the applicant to assume that they can and then find out that there's questions on it. So I think it would be appropriate to have a look and make sure that we're conforming with the act in that regard. The lot creation, I don't think is a question, but I would assume that the applicant would like a lot that they can build on.
That seems reasonable to me. So that would require a defer.
Defer.
And I get a motion to take the recommendation of staff to defer till the next planning meeting,
Yes.
and we'll have an answer to that. So I'll
I'll
take a
make that
motion to do that.
Yeah.
Mike, you're moving?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a seconder for that? Mary Catherine? Any further discussion? All in favor? The motion to defer is carried. Thank you.
That'll be July.
Yes, I'll provide the date.
It will be in July, yes. There's a meeting in July. That date isn't-
You know, nothing to do with this, just a quick question, can something be done to up the volume of the microphones in the chambers? Because a lot of council members have speak softly. And we're not actually hearing hardly anything through the mic from delegations. Thank you. Particularly when the air comes up.
Thank you. Is that better? Is that better? Thank you. Maybe it was just me. Okay, we're going to continue on with this meeting. Item 8 is other business from the council. Seeing none. I'll take a motion to adjourn. That the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on June 25th, 2024 be adjourned at 10:24 a.m. Mover and the seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, madam. And thank you, Alex, as well. We'll go on to item 8. And the motion is that the council reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting on June 25th, 2024 at 10:25 a.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth. Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. Committee reports. Motion to receive the committee reports. That agenda items 9.2 to 9.3 on the June 25th, 2024 municipal planning / regular council meeting agenda be received for information. And the first one is regarding the Lower Trent, and the second one is the Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any further discussion? Councillor O'Neill.
Just making note that those are the draft minutes for the Parks, Recreation and Culture. I know the one above says signed. I don't know if that is going to become our policy for all minutes, that they'll say signed when they're not draft. But anyway, there is likely to be some minor corrections, no major corrections, but they are draft.
Duly noted. Any other comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. There are no fire report, building planning reports. I expect there could be. We do have one from Public Works, and that's the Grafton Traffic Safety Review. CAO 2024-10 Grafton Traffic Safety Review. And Dave, I'll ask you to lead us through this.
Thank you, Mayor Logo. Through you, this report is brought to you in reply to a couple of public requests that we've had with respect to crosswalks, sidewalks, lighting, traffic in the downtown Grafton area, specifically referencing the schools. Jewel is a company that we have worked with in several different matters with respect to engineering and road infrastructure, bridges, etc. And they also have a division that looks after traffic. The estimated cost of a traffic study as presented to council in the past was estimated between 20 and 25,000. And we feel that the cost of this has come in at is definitely within the scope of what we need to accomplish.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Mike.
You, Mayor. Good to see this coming. I'm just kind of wondering if we should, if I look at the sketch of where the study's going to take place, I'm wondering at this time if we should maybe, because the subdivisions on Danforth and the subdivision up on the top of Lyle, just say for argument's sake that every one of them has family buys a house with 2 kids and they got to walk to Grafton Public School kind of thing, or the Catholic school. So I wonder, well, we got them here. Should those 2 areas be added to it?
Thank you. Dave, you have a comment?
With respect to Northumberland Heights, that's the one, or the Grafton Heights up here. So that's a county road, and Northumberland County will be doing a traffic study next year for Highway 2. And we could ask if they could involve County Road 23. As for the Danforth subdivision, my understanding is that the sidewalk infrastructure, et cetera, would be part of the subdivision planning process. And I believe we could get that answer from Tracy. The new subdivisions or future subdivisions are going through a different planning evaluation with respect to our planning department than example the one down here that was installed a long time ago, or initiated probably about 25 years ago. So we're playing catch up with that one, but the new ones will fall under different planning that includes sidewalks, water infrastructure, gas infrastructure. And I do know that Grafton Heights went through something that was completely different than what they did 25 years ago down here. Further, we have what will be coming to the next council meeting. Is a water model study. That needs to get done for the Grafton area as well. That will also incorporate some of what it is you're asking for.
So, Lyle Street here from the number 2 to the county road. Could that be part of the study?
I'll make a quick comment. My recollection of Grafton Heights is that there is to be a sidewalk put in from where the road goes in, the new road that they're putting in.
Yeah.
Down to Lyle Street, or pardon me, Aird Street. Where it swings
Yeah.
off to the side. There is a,
Right here beside the office.
yes,
Yeah, this part right here.
yes.
Yeah.
But, yes,
Okay, that was my concern then.
to the top of Aird Street,
Yes,
okay?
okay.
So that's all gonna be sidewalk?
No. From the new road down to Aird Street, which is
Will be
300
sidewalk.
yards or 400
Yeah.
yards sidewalk along the hill.
Hmm.
And some of those subdivisions will be coming off County Road 2 as well.
Yeah.
So there may be consideration for that too, sidewalk there. I don't know that, but
Okay.
Mary Catherine?
I would like to pick up slightly or follow up on what Councillor Ainsworth has said. The new Danforth, and as you correctly pointed out, the process does include looking at sidewalks, but I don't believe it would apply to the section that currently exists on Old Danforth. And perhaps that is something that could be clarified. And if Jewel was able to give us some idea, just a ballpark, because that might be a major budget item that we need to be thinking ahead about. Extremely pleased to see this coming forward. I know the schools have done a lot of work to try and make bus safety better with the changing of their parking areas and pick up and drop off. So this is our piece of contributing to the safety. I'm glad to see pedestrians being prioritized in this. I didn't see any mention of bicycle safety, so I'm wondering if they could also be asked to look at the impact of bicycles.
Go ahead.
Through your Mayor Local, I would hope this would apply to the little side road. I don't even know what the name is, that little short one. It's all in that area where the parking lot for St. Mary's, and there's that little strip. And the other one would be that stop sign going to Highway 2 from Lyle. So is he gonna take in that whole square?
I think the map kind of
I
shows
think it is.
Okay.
all of it. Because there is an awful, I think we all know there's lots of activity there, particularly on a school day. And it's pretty quiet until 4 to 9 in the morning until 9:15, and then it goes the opposite way at 3 o'clock. And it starts at number 2. Well, probably starts further than that, but you really see an increase on Highway 2 for that hour
No, it doesn't go as,
and continues on.
yeah, it doesn't take in that spot I was talking about.
Are you
It's just
talking
in-
about?
From just outside of St. Mary's to the first stop sign going to Highway 2. But, okay, yep, I
Good.
retract. I'm looking at the green dots. All right, Dave. I'm good. I'm good with it.
I think
I think it'll do it.
Sideways,
Yeah, it'll do it.
you know, I've got to say, $13,000 is lots of money, and, you know, we could have 4 or 5 quarterbacks trying to decide which ones will do it, and we'll never get everybody agreeing, and that
This
isn't the
is
same
it.
as an
Yep.
engineer doing it, so I have no problem at all spending $13,000 or whatever it is to have it done professionally, and then we can step back and walk away. And I think I think Dave has mentioned it to me before, and I'm not sure if it's come up here, but it's not only for stop signs and this, that, and the other type thing, it's community safety. And I happened to be in Prince Edward County a couple of weeks ago, and I can't say every, but every one that I traveled through, whether there was 6 houses or 26 houses, there was a little hamlet, they all had community safety zones in those areas. So.
Mayor, but just, if I may just, ask one more question. With the amount of subdivisions that are going to be coming into this area, is there any way of the developers, eventually any information they want to get off this study, would they be able, would they have access to pay for it?
Through your mayor, so these specific types of questions actually belong to the planner to identify what gets done through the application process for subdivisions and the new.
Mhm.
It is my understanding that all of these things are now taken into consideration in an absolute thorough process. So where the traffic study and what we're doing is with respect to older development and existing, any of the new ones, I do believe fall under requirement to get that.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Okay, we'll move on to item 15.1. Short-term rental. I don't think we got to move in a second. I think I'll give it to Dave. Yeah, I agree. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to accept the recommendation, and that is the council received report CAO 2024-10 Grafton Traffic Study, Safety Study Review for information, and the direction be given to the CAO Fire Chief to engage in the services of Jewel Engineering for the purposes of the traffic study in Grafton. Mover and a second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to the next one, we have administration reports, and the first one is 15-1, short-term rental accommodations. It's report CLK 2024-19, short-term rental accommodations, prepared for the 25th of June, 2024. Can I get a mover and second to put it on the table? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Who's taking us through this one, Dave? Anybody? Or does anybody have any questions?
Really just all there for. Through your worship there, it's just all there for information for council. It is cleanup of the original STR bylaw that should have included a few of these provisions that were discussed ultimately. So this is a revision of the existing bylaw to ensure that we have the capabilities to enforce the bylaw, as well as the administrative charges needed to be identified.
Thank you. I'll read the recommendation and then we'll open up any questions if you have any. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alnwick-Haldimand enact as follows. The council received report CLK 2024-19 short-term rental accommodation for information, and that a bylaw be brought forward for consideration to govern the licensing of short-term rental accommodations in the township of Alnwick-Haldimand. Any further questions? Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor, a couple of quick ones. 4.4, I just wondered if that is reading right, where it says no person shall fail to remove an advertisement for the short-term rental accommodation for the prohibited under the bylaw within 72 hours. I just wonder if the first part of that should be something like if they fail to remove the advertisement, because it talks about advertising without a license. 4.4. Eight. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so through your permission to speak.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Logal. So this language comes from our legal team with review of the STR bylaw. And no person shall fail. It means that nobody shall fail, basically. It's good.
Okay,
It's okay.
it's the way it's written and.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought, you read lawyer language pretty good, don't you?
Yeah,
mean, you shouldn't do it.
Any
So
other
they fail.
questions or comments? Oh, yeah, I just
The only
looked
other
at something.
comment I had is that, when we talked about all this, the inspections, I was under the assumption that it's your initial inspection, then it was every 3 years after that. I don't see that on.
I
Through
can't,
your mayor. So that I do recall that, and I know that you asked me the other day about this, so. I believe there was a conversation with our clerk, and us within. The revision of this, and that was if we identify that, but something happens within the year and we don't do another inspection. That we could potentially be held more liable, so we left it out. The inspections are subject to our discretion. So if we have an STR that, extremely reputable, never had any complaints, we know in the first inspection that things were top notch. We didn't have any building code issues or fire code violations that. Maybe there wouldn't be a need to re-inspect the next year, and we could, maybe it'd be every couple of years, but it would leave us with the control of saying how often we needed to do it. Furthermore, if we ended up with a significant number of STRs and a limited number of staff, we might not be able to inspect every year or every 3 or any set date that we may put in the bylaw. So therefore, leaving it open. It's subject to the discretion of the bylaw officer, the bylaw department, the building department. And the
Okay.
fire department.
All right, good stuff. Thanks.
If I may extend that, so that is the same as that we do with regards to building inspections under the FPPA. Right? So fire can do once a year, can do every 2 years, can do every 3 years. It all depends on the amount of building stock you have versus your capabilities through staff and funding. So it leaves us in control.
Okay, thank you.
and it doesn't restrict you to any time or whatever. If you feel you need it, you can just go ahead and do it. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. Well, that would be nice to have,
Time coming.
but long time coming, a lot of effort from a lot of people, and it's very good to
Absolutely.
have it done. The next one is 15-2 CAO 2024-09 Grafton Municipal Office Building for the report date of 25 June 2024. Can I get a mover and seconder to bring it on the table? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Dave, go ahead, please.
This report comes to you for the inspection of the building integrity of the municipal office. This has come forward on several occasions from staff and from council that we need to have a report on file with respect to the integrity of the building. And we also have to look at things in the future with respect to AODA and accessibility for 2026. Not that this will identify the specifics with regards to AODA, but it will identify whether or not the building is able or that we should invest in it for the future.
Questions, comments? Mayor Kaplan?
I do believe we have 2 processes underway right now that link into this report in front of us. The first is that we already have the pension here looking at our asset retirement obligations. And while I'm not entirely sure at what they're looking at that during that inspection, I'm sure that they would identify any egregious concerns. And so my other concern is that or the other process that we're underway with is the strategic plan. And so there, it's my view that we should be looking at all of our facilities. This is not the only building that's been identified with concerns within the municipality. So, and my final concern with this is I'm pretty sure I can sum up the final conclusion of what this report is going to say, which is we recommend that you do a full engineered report rather than just a visual structural review. So it would be my preference to see that we wait until we have our asset retirement obligation report in front of us, and we have our strategic plan done, and then bring this back at that time for consideration, as it may be that we want to look at more buildings at the same time and in more depth.
Let's answer, your first comment, I believe, was regarding all the other buildings and what that was being done for. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so I can answer
Yeah.
all of the questions that we can, through you, Mayor. So we do have a report in the queue that has not come to council, and it is based on a recommendation from another company that does provide a complete analysis of all of your building stock. That comes to you at a value of $254,000. There is a grant available that would cover 185 if we get it. But the council, the township would be held to pay for the rest of it. So affordability in our current budget, we didn't feel that that was something that should come forward just yet, because there's lots of other things to gather up. The reason that this report or this suggestion came forward to council was because of the state of affairs that the building is currently in. This past winter, we had the crack in the main floor open up wider. It's now closed back up again. We had significant rainfall and rusting in the roof with water coming through the roof. We had a family of furry animals living in the attic. We've identified the floor in the annex over the other side is sloping. And there is also a doorway leading from the annex to the main building that is splitting significantly within the structural seam. So that's why this came forward, because it was to address this. We should also include that we have several bricks falling off the building. So it was identified to repair the bricks comes at a significant cost as well. So we were looking out or seeking additional help or support on what would be a small step before taking the big step. The overall major study. So if I back up, Pinchin right now is doing the asset management requirement.
Which is your first question.
Which is the first question. So that really only has to do with, the age of your building, replacement costs, remediations that have been done over the years, what are an estimated timeline for the life expectancy of a building, et cetera, on general terms. In conversation with the gentleman that was through here from Pinchin doing that, they do not step into the department that looks after structural integrity. So they said that would be a completely different evaluation. This is the same company that we reached out to for the library here in Grafton with regards to air quality control. So the company does a lot of these types of things. Anyway, I hope that answers all of your questions, does it?
If I could ask a follow-up question, Mayor Logal?
Yep.
In that case, if you just want information on the structural integrity of this building, rather than paying over $2,000 for them to come here and then another $2,000 for the report, could we have a local engineer or company walk through here and provide the same report at a lower cost?
Go ahead.
Through your mayor. So staff could go back and look at other possible avenues. I know that the building department had been looking at this for several months on trying to get somebody in and came up empty-handed. This recommendation actually came through Bill Ferguson from the library board because it was the same company recommended that would do the air quality control of the library. And then lo and behold, Aaron was researching for the asset management side of our audit with respect to things like asbestos And as it turned out, this company ended up being a preferred, not so much preferred, but actually came in being one of the most affordable companies to work with, that Aaron was working with respect to that. So that's how we tied into it to present it to council.
Right, I had looked up pension and I saw all of that, but this is specific to the structural integrity and you know, given a walkthrough, I'm pretty sure they're just going to tell us to do more investigation, but anyway.
I think we're liably responsible to take a look and have some professionals come in. And I think we have to do that.
Excuse me, Mayor Local, are we allowing, following policy and allowing two
Yes.
topics? Or I'd just like to add something as well. I'm just wondering, would this be the start of the, if we were to go for the whole kit and caboodle for the 240,000? Would something like this be good information to have to go toward the grant? As a start? Thank you.
What grant are you talking about?
Well, the 185,000
Okay.
grant.
So council, through you, Mayor, council, specifically that grant is the green emissions one. And the study is more specifically towards your green emissions with respect to all of your buildings. So your windows, your insulations, your age of your buildings, life expectancy, all of that stuff. Does it specifically get into structural integrity? It does speak to it a little bit. I would have to ask the question as to how much. So this one that came to you was specifically to address the structural issues that we're seeing. And we didn't go any further with that for this. So we do have a health and safety requirement to at least answer the questions. Was there enough signs and symptoms to identify that we probably should do something? Yes. Can we not do anything? No. But how much does council want to do, I believe would be a fair question that Councilor Neal has asked. And we can spend your money.
Go ahead.
Just to follow up, would this be, I would think this would be done by an engineer.
Pynchon is an engineering firm.
And so for this amount, we're looking at $5,000
So the amount is less than 5,000.
before taxes.
Yeah, so that's why I brought it to council though, because this is not something that we identified in a budget for the 2024 budget, and therefore it was only fair to bring it back.
Thank you. That's my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
I guess, sorry. I guess Councillor O'Neill brings up a good point, and I picked it out too, is that through the asset management, this company is coming around and doing a general sort of checking on all the buildings and everything, and then they're going to come back now. If you actually read what they're doing, it's just totally a visual thing, and I can see the same thing coming back. They're not opening any walls, they're not opening any ceilings, they're just visually looking at everything and probably gonna come back with a report to say, you know what, the cracks in the floor, this or that or whatever, we're gonna have to open up things, we're gonna have to check floor joists and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, I don't know through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO, have they already done the asset one here, Dave, and looked at this building? So I was just thinking, could we not have skipped the $950, I think it was, for that, because they're going to do the other one? But you did explain, I guess you answered my question, because it's that first inspection for the asset management is basically just telling you the age, this, that, and everything else. It's not actually looking at a crack in the floor or something like that. Okay, so you answered my question without me even, so it's just, it seems we're doing a study and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna spend a few $1,000s more, but when you ask the question, Deputy Mayor, it's not, doesn't necessarily mean it's an engineer coming, somebody's doing a visual inspection. And they're gonna definitely, I guarantee you, come back, I agree with what you're saying, Mary Catherine, to say, yeah, you got a crack, you got this, the bricks falling and everything, but you're gonna need to do some more digging.
You can have the average Joe, you can have a guy do that from when they check your house out, right, to whatever, so.
Well, they'd have to have credentials.
Oh, they got credentials, but if you read the actual thing, no opening of the building, no looking into walls, no, so. I guess, like you said, Mr. Mayor, though, we have to start with somewhere, right? So,
We have to start with somewhere and I live in a fairly new house and we have cracks like that. And they expand in the summer, or pardon me, they retract in the summer and expand in the winter. But I'm pretty sure it's not a fault of the house or nothing like that. It's just something that happens. And I would feel much better knowing that from an expert coming and and what we did, we brought out the guy that put the floor in. Says, oh, that happens all the time when you have wood expanding and contracting. And I would feel much more comfortable having someone with a stamp saying, don't worry about that.
You
It's fine.
need a hard hat.
Yeah. So I'll read you have a comment, Dave?
Sure. So, Mayor, I can certainly ask the company what it would be to have more of an in-depth study done on the building. And I can also ask to ensure that what we're going to receive from this report is what the true intent is on what we're trying to find out before proceeding. You could make that part of the approval if you do so. And then I think that overall, probably we probably need to consider budgeting for 2025 to perhaps do an overall assessment of all of our building stock, because that will also help you make decisions for future buildings. Because with respect to the environment, green emissions, and a lot of our existing infrastructure equipment with respect to heating and air conditioning, you probably need that report.
Okay. So do you want to make any adjustments to the resolution or can I read that? I'll read it and then if you want to add something, then we can do that. The council received report CAO 2024-09 Grafton Municipal Office Building Structural Review for information and that the council direct the CAO Fire Chief to engage with Pinchin to have a visual structural review completed on the Grafton Municipal Office Building. Mary Catherine.
I would prefer to see this either deferred or as our CAO said, that instead of engaging with them, he's going to further discuss with them.
That makes sense? Yeah. Yeah. So that's your motion?
Is that an amendment or a separate motion? I'm not sure.
You gave two options there, so it's either.
Yeah, and I thought perhaps, and I know you don't like our friendly amendments anymore.
Not when they're substantial, like.
We try and be friendly. So I would make a motion to defer until the CAO gathers more information.
Go ahead.
Can I just ask for clarification? Could it come back for the next meeting in July? Would that give Mr. CAO time to clarify?
Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay, defer until our next meeting. Is that,
Yep, I'm good with that.
are you seconding that then?
I'll second it.
So it's been moved and seconded that we get a advisory report from CAO prior for our next meeting. Do you have a comment?
Yes, through you, Mayor. I guess I'm concerned about the safety of everything and safety of our residents coming in and out of the building and safety of our employees. And I don't know if we should, this probably has been put off even before we've been here as council. So I would suggest that we probably should get at this, whatever the cost may be, and do our due diligence. So I'm not in favor of postponing it. I would soon see this get done, regardless of what the depth of it is, and move us forward to try to figure out how to fix all this.
Comment?
I guess the best way I can advise you is that the question has been asked for a considerable amount of time. we did some research in trying to find who would be able to come and help us. We've presented to you a stepping stone, which I understand the cost, but it's also a bit of insurance. We all assume the liability. And, you know, another piece of brick falls off the building and strikes somebody in the head, you'll be held liable. So it's your decision. We can proceed with the best interest of the township in mind and have the conversation with pension. If in fact it's not what we need, we won't proceed with it. But if it will at least give us the first step in understanding what we need to do, or what the condition is and what will the conclusion be, because I think that's a fair question. And I should ask that, what's the conclusion of this report? If it's right for us, then we shouldn't delay. It's been like this for a while now anyway, so
Another 2 weeks.
it's a gamble, right?
If I can make a comment, I know that the previous, not the previous council, our council of a year ago, during budget process, we're considering, and I think that was what we were planned to do, was actually have our building inspector do a full building inspection of this building because there was some concerns. Remember that? That never happened. So whether it delays it a week or not, I don't think it's going to matter that much. However, it is a safety issue, or it could be a potential safety issue, and we should be not putting it back. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah,
Final
Mayor,
shot.
I guess I just want to add that, you know, when someone comes in from an engineering firm, they have a professional set of eyes. Not just the average Joe guy looking at stuff. So they may come in here and go, you need to put an awning over top of that main entrance immediately. So I'm just cautioning about spending extra time trying to figure out whether it's $2,000 or $4,000 to do it.
Can we possibly, as a thought, ask Dave to give him a call and find out what's actually doing and continue on? If that's
So-
the right thing to do, go
So
ahead.
through your mayor logo, right now, the motion on the floor is to defer until July meeting for the CAO to gather more information. So that's where we're at right now. So at this point, everybody, I believe, has had a chance to talk. Councilor Booth, I'm not sure. But you might want to start moving things forward here in the meeting.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I guess going down what the mayor was just saying is, would it be possible? And I understand both sides, so I agree with both of them. And I wouldn't want to see it delayed just because we're talking about $1,000 or $2,000. Would it be agreeable that we could say that we give permission for Dave to go ahead with this, but just before he gives permission to them to talk to pension to say, listen, this is what we're looking at. You know, what we're looking at, that report coming back, telling us exactly, you know, if there's some kind of immediate concern that we have to look at. For example, what you brought up, do we have to put some kind of awning there, or should somebody not be going through this doorway here or something like that? Because I don't want to delay it either. And God forbid something happened and somebody get hit by a brick or something like that. But I think it would be maybe prudent to give permission for Dave to do it, but just make that phone call when you're telling them, yes, you know what? Would that be acceptable to?
Mary Catherine?
I believe we are directing our CAO to have that conversation and bring back a firm answer in 2 weeks. And I think given the situation, a firm answer in 2 weeks is a reasonable timeline.
I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor of asking for the CAO to have a report for us in 2 weeks? Motion is carried. Thank you. And we'll move on. The next one is Northumberland Cattlemen's Association Annual Beef Dinner, July 4th. This is for information. They'd be happy to have everybody come, I'm sure. And we'll be posting that. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. The only comment I'll make is the beef is normally good from the Cattlemen's Association. Moving on to the next one, Northumberland County notice of a decision for Allenwick Haldeman official plan. This is something that come out early this morning, I believe. I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
No.
Anybody want to comment on it or what it's about? Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I did read it and it is an acknowledgement of our change in our, how, notice is given for planning issues. And that's a bylaw, or sorry, that was something that we had already approved as a council. And they just said that what we did was fine. They gave us a thumbs up essentially. But you should have been there at the meeting, I think, when we gave the thumbs up, but maybe it's just a clerical thing. I'm not sure.
Well, I haven't had a chance to read it.
I think, Mayor Logal, it is just doing away with the newspaper and we can go with,
Oh,
Yeah.
social media or websites and stuff like that, if that's what I'm reading.
and Hamilton Township had it as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know if anybody else did that, but I do recall it coming to county council, that the two of them may be approved.
Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is just a motion to receive. Motion to receive and file. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to bylaws. Bylaw number 46, 2024, to license, regulate, and govern short-term rental accommodations. The resolution reads that bylaw number 2024, being a bylaw to license, regulate, and govern short-term rental accommodations, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 25th day of June 2024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 47, 2024, to execute funding agreement with AMO. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allenwick Haldeman enact as follows: that bylaw number 47, 2024, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an executive and execute an agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, be given a first, second, and third reading and pass this 25th day of June 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor O'Neill and seconded by Councilor Booth. Any questions? Councilor O'Neill.
Okay, so I wasn't familiar with the CCFB funding, so I did some research and I still have a couple of questions about it. Was this formerly the gas funding? Has it always been operated through the AMO? I see that the federal government tells us what we've received and it's ranged in the last 5 years between 208,000 up to 427,000. So I'm just hoping I can get some more information on this, where it is in our budget and how we're using it currently.
Mr. CAO, do you have someone that's going to answer that or? Huh? You know?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, in answer to the first two questions, yes, this is the former gas tax. It's all laid out within the funding agreement itself. So this is the former gas tax piece. The second question was, I'm sorry, I missed the.
Can I? We never used to use the AMO before. Did we?
So it has always been distributed through AMO.
Oh, has it?
Yeah,
We've always
Yeah,
had to
through-
sign to do that?
I can't speak to past practice,
I can't
but the grant
remember.
has been administered by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So this is a standardized funding agreement. That's static guaranteed funding. So for 2024 through to 2028, our funding is anticipated to be 234,000 in 2024 and graduating up to 254,000 by 2028. So as outlined in the agreement, there are approved projects and streams that we can just spend this money for. In terms of how it's been addressed and handled in past budgets, I'm unaware, so I'll defer that to our treasurer.
There used to be funding, and I can't remember what it's called. There used to be funding that was just given out in general, and then it was for different projects, project funding as well too. Is that what causes the jumping up and down? I was wondering, we used to get gas tax funding. And this, it appears that it used to jump up and down or not be consistent. And I'm just wondering, it was something that was based on projects that we submitted and got an application for, and submitted an application and got money for that, or is that part of this?
So yes, it's based off of projects usually. As for previous years, I don't know. I'd have to go back and see which projects were applied for and where the money was going. I do know, in some past practices, there's been not-for-profit agencies because we don't have like a bus line that our gas tax isn't used for that, but we put money to non-for-profit to help them move the residents from our community that were around.
Good point. Thank you.
I believe it was the only one we were eligible to have was the community care ride share. I think that was the only one that we could apply for funding to access some of this money.
That was definitely, I know that was one of the contributions that we did make. Could be more too, but. Do you have another, you need? So all your questions answered, Mary Catherine?
Yes, I appreciate that. And then perhaps as we go into this year's budget, if that could be brought back to our attention as a revenue stream and where it's going during the presentations, that would be fantastic.
Further questions or comments? I'll read the resolution. The bylaw number 47-2024 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and execute an agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 25th day of June 2024. All in favor? Motion's carried. Announcements and notices of motion. I don't think we have any today, although I will comment, if I could, on the Canada Day parade and festivities. I want to thank everybody that was involved in that. They did a great job. The weather held out for us, and although I'll say the rain held out for us, the wind was a bit of a challenge a few times, apparently, with different things blowing away on us. But other than that, and I think the residents appreciated it being there, and the civic awards went off very well as well. So a good day by all. So thank you very much. There are no closed session items for today. So we'll move on to bylaws, confirming bylaw. The bylaw 48/2024 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the municipal planning / regular council meeting held on the 25th day of June 2024 and to authorize its execution be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 25th day of June 2024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. And motion to adjourn that the municipal planning regular council meeting held on June 25th, 2024 be adjourned at 11:14 a.m. Mover to seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Councillor Booth. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe day.
Thank you.
And we'll see you back on July. Oh, tomorrow at 10. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow a little bit quicker than I was planning on.